Welcome everybody to this UnisonEDU webinar all about creating great instructional videos with Screencastify and WeVideo. On your screen, and it'll be in the chat here for you in a few seconds, you're going to see a bit.ly. That bit.ly will get you to the slide deck so you can have this resource, and we'll also get it to UnisonEDU.org as well so that you have access to not only this, but this recording of the webinar as well. I am Patrick Hausman. I'm the founder of UnisonEDU, which is a culmination of my Google Innovator project from LAX 18. So shout out to that group and that program. I am also supervisor of instructional technology as well as an ITRT or instructional technology coach for Clark County Public Schools in Virginia. And you can find me on Twitter at PHASEDU, and you can see the rest of things aligned there really well along with that. It is phasedu.com for my website and resources, and phasedu@gmail.com to reach out to me if you have any questions about this webinar, about EdTech in general, or maybe you want to collaborate. Be more than happy to do so. As I said, I am a Google Certified Innovator. I'm also 2019 ASCD Emerging Leader, Google Trainer, Educator, and probably more pointed to this, I am also a WeVideo ambassador as well as a master screencaster from Screencastify. So we come to you with a good amount of expertise. Obviously, we don't know everything about everything, but we are more than happy to help you out. And I say we because I have a great counterpart and a UnisonEDU team member joining me today.
Hi, I'm Darcy Priester. I'm an instructional technology resource teacher and actually soon to be instructional technology coach. Our title is changing here shortly. And I'm at Manassas Park High School with Manassas Park City Schools. I am also a Google for Education certified educator and trainer. And I just recently went ahead and certified myself with WeVideo as well. So I have both bronze, silver, and the gold certified educators with WeVideo as well. You can reach me at MissPriester_ITRT on Twitter and Instagram. And then you can also watch all of my videos that I do, lots of technology tips and a technology series, teaching series called Tech Tuesday. And I have the link to that in the slides as well.
Very cool. I have checked it out before, but I have not checked it out recently, so I'll be jumping in the checkout updates, that's for sure. And as I said, we are both part of UnisonEDU, and you can see our kind of slogan there, or kind of what we try to summarize as kind of succinctly as we can, that we are all about learning for all educators to move together. And really what we mean by that at UnisonEDU is we want to welcome all educators, not only to our team, but to be able to learn from us and along with us. And it is all about trying to close some equity gaps and making sure that every school, every educator has the professional learning that they need so they can do amazing things, and they can also, of course, do amazing things with their students. And you can find a lot more information at UnisonEDU.org, and you'll know you're in the right place when you hit the homepage and it looks just like this. As we come back to the slide deck and go ahead and advance on to the agenda, Darcy's going to kind of fill us in on where we're going with this whole thing today.
So today we're going to talk about what makes great instructional videos. Both Patrick and I have a lot of experience doing this and want to impart some other knowledge for you. And I'm sure some of you have been doing this all year long. So talking a little bit more about what goes into those instructional videos, and then specifically talking about the Screencastify and WeVideo tools and how you can edit and capture your screen, capture yourself on your web camera using both of these tools.
Absolutely. And we know very well these are not the only two tools. So if you have other tools that you're really comfortable with, of course, you can take some of the tips and tricks. A lot of them will transcend tools, and you'll be able to apply them. And absolutely, best practices will go across different platforms. With that, we're going to jump into a few different tips. The first one I'll point out is called signaling. When you make different videos, and you'll notice as we go through this video, we're likely going to do it even subconsciously as we go through, but it is using visual or verbal cues to draw students' attention to different things. So you'll hear me say, for instance, for Screencastify, up towards the top right of my screen, you're going to see the Screencastify icon for the extension. When you click that, you'll get this box again that'll show up in the top right. And you give those kind of cues, and you might say, look for the salmon colored arrow towards the top right. And it helps to not only hear what you're saying, but visually not only draw yourself to a place, but if there's a color or something else that you can point out, that's another great way to really point out where you're looking.
I also would agree with that, saying a lot of the editing that I do with WeVideo, I will find a box or an arrow to also point out in editing what it is that I want students' focus to go to.
Great point. And the next one down there is called weeding. And that really, to me, connects directly with the concept of cognitive load and very, very much simplifying it. So if you know cognitive load and you're like, that's really, really simplified, I'm stressing that it's very simplified, and it's really removing all the unnecessary stimuli that maybe looks really good, but maybe isn't necessarily needed. For instance, maybe you want to put a few different pictures on the slide to kind of dress it up so it's not just text, but those pictures don't necessarily add to the content on the slide. They look nice and they might be connected, but they don't necessarily reinforce it or do something more. So maybe it's good to not have those images so that there's not extra things going on. For instance, in this video, another thing is I only have the tabs open that I'm sure I'm going to use. I don't have extra tabs open that might be distracting. Different favicons could be distracting. Different titles of sites could distract students. So try and only have those things open on the screen that you might use.
Yeah, I'm awful about the tabs. So that's something that I'm trying to remember as I'm making videos going forward.
And you can see there's a couple things. Anywhere you see the underlines are links. So there's two different things linked in here for you about cognitive load. Again, we really, really just scratched the surface, but both of these articles do a really nice job of kind of walking you through not only what cognitive load is, but then a few more tips and tricks, like how much text should you have? What's about the time? And you can see here in this sentence, you want to have 7 items or fewer roughly on a slide, and you should be able to make your way through it in like 15 seconds or so. And it's just little tips like that that can really help you know whether or not you're maybe overloading students. And then on the flip side, of course, talk to your students, ask them and see, are things working for them? Is there too much there? And then next to that is another one of our tips, and that's time. You want to try and be part of that sweet spot is in 6 minutes or less. And there's a number of different articles linked here at the bottom, and they will walk you through different parts of what we've kind of talked about throughout here. And you can see on this one site, and I'll zoom in so that's not quite as small, but you can see on this time chart, after you hit that 6 minute threshold, you can see kind of that engagement level with students starting to go down. So does that mean you have to be 6 minutes or less? Absolutely not. Sometimes you gotta dive a little deeper and you don't want to break it up, but you can see once you get to that 10 minutes and past, you're really losing a lot of your students. And one of the things you can do to kind of get around that is the segmenting that you see there, where you really make your lessons almost episodic, where you're breaking them into smaller chunks. So you still want them to watch them all, but you're having episodes just like Netflix or something would have coming out for a new show.
So we do have those articles down at the bottom too that will go a little bit more further in depth in some of these ideas and these tips. And the Cult of Pedagogy one, I know that's one that I have shared out several times with teachers in my own building.
Yeah, and you can see that chart makes another appearance. So that is definitely a good piece of research that has been referenced more than once. And you can just see we tried to keep it short. We didn't want to overwhelm you with different websites and different tips. But you can see here one comes directly from an e-learning site, again, referencing cognitive load, cognitive learning theories. And you can see just some basic tips and design guidelines of things you want to look out for, things you want to make sure you have going. And then one last one here from Edutopia that really breaks it down into 5 steps. trying to chunk things together, making sure you have your slides and different things ready to go. Everything's good beforehand, how you want to record it. And we won't touch on this necessarily elsewhere, so I will touch on it here and just stress the importance of having a good microphone or maybe a nice set of earbuds with a mic built in. It really makes a difference versus that microphone that might be built into the computer. And then think about ways you might be able to enhance the engagement, maybe with linking to a tool like Edpuzzle or something. And I think this last one is really important, and I'm sure Darcy might be able to touch on this or even build on it, is just to be yourself. Don't be really stiff and kind of not animated as you normally would be. Crack jokes. If you can, put yourself on the screen and really be as if you were in front of those students teaching them or in front of the staff teaching them.
Absolutely. I know with my own videos, one of the things that I use is a teleprompter, and that's an app on my phone. So I'll get the name of it and I'll put it in the chat here in a second. But that also helps me to have bulleted points listed out on that teleprompter, and it goes with me as I'm reading it, and I've got it right under my camera. So most of the time when I'm filming, I'm not using the web camera on my computer. I'm using an actual camera and have it on a tripod away from me, because sometimes that's just easier for me to work.
Very, very smart tips. And I know, for instance, I will sometimes maybe try and use my laptop, but it is very surprising just how many surfaces move, and you don't necessarily notice it till you try and record something on your laptop or have a computer on your lap and try and make a video, that you realize how much it might move, and that can be distracting as well. And we won't read down through all these tips, but another screen here with a few more tips for you. And one of the big things, and I know it should be obvious, is to remind students and staff that they can pause and rewatch that video anytime. If it's going too fast in a lot of different mediums, you can actually slow the speed of the video. And one of the things I really pointed out for our teachers too is just think about FERPA as well. So as you have different tabs and things open, make sure as you're going to go through things, you're not going to overshare names, or you don't accidentally have that tab with your grade book still open, things along those lines. And I would say accessibility is probably the final thing I'll hit on this one. Think about whether or not your captions are correct after that video, or if it has captions, and think about maybe turning voice typing on in the background in Docs, or a tool like otter.ai to capture a transcript as you speak, so you don't necessarily have to type it afterwards. And Darcy, do you have any other tips that you want to toss out for the group before we jump into some tool exploration?
No, I think we're ready to go.
Perfect. So with that, I'll go ahead and jump us to the next slide, which is going to start us into Screencastify. Just another reference point that on the bottom of pretty much every slide, you will see the bit.ly. So if you just stepped into this video and you didn't catch it at the beginning, or you didn't see it coming through the chat, that bit.ly will be there. And again, it will be posted on the UnisonEDU.org website as well. So within the slide deck, I'm going to use this to try and help kind of remember different things to point out, but I'm actually going to dip into the tool a little bit and show you what these things look like live in the tool. But some different things that you could make, obviously different videos. It could be instructional, it could be feedback, it can be announcements. I know we've done a lot of different read alouds with our principals, with different, in some cases, authors reading books to kids. Obviously, screencast of recording your screen. Both tools we're going to show you have an ability to either just capture audio or just download audio. So a great way to maybe do a podcast, and also you can make some GIFs as well. And I don't know about you, and I'm not going to get into the debate of GIFs or GIFs. I'm perfectly fine whichever way you want to say it. I will know what you mean. But they can be really engaging. Memes on the same accord, they can really pull kids in, make them laugh, and humor can be a great thing as part of your videos, especially if it comes after you've built some of those great relationships with students. But to jump into Screencastify, I'm going to go fairly quickly because it is a video and you can pause, you can slow it down, you can always watch it more than once. Screencastify is an extension for Google Chrome. You can get to it a couple different ways. I've shown you what it kind of looks like when you come to screencastify.com. You would normally have the blue button you see in the slide deck. If you don't have it, that says Add to Chrome. I've already installed it, so I wanted to be able to show you both things so you can see that it does say already installed. And then this window here on the right shows you what it looks like in Chrome. Either way you get it, you want to make sure you add it to Google Chrome if it is one you want to use. And know that it may hide in this puzzle piece where your extensions usually get stored. And then you would just push that push pin to make it show up outside of that if you want it to stay there for you. Once you have it installed, then it's the time to actually record a video. And to do that, you're going to look in the top right-hand side here where your extensions lie for that salmon colored arrow with a small camera on it that is the Screencastify icon. Once you click on that, you're going to see a few different options on the screen. The first one is recording only the browser tab. So maybe you have multiple tabs open, but you only want to record one. It's a really nice way to make sure you don't overshare and to remove some of those different cognitive things that might overwhelm students. You would have only one tab showing. If you clicked on another tab, it won't record it. It'll only do that one tab. It will ask you if you want to record the new tab, but you obviously don't have to. You'll notice then you can also select your microphone in case you have more than one. You can see I actually have one in the webcam and I'm using the snowball mic that's external. I can turn on or off my webcam to have that embedded in the video. It is a really nice thing for students to see you, but again, that's another cognitive load piece as well. So maybe you want to start with yourself on the camera, and then there'll actually be a small X on the embed that you would be able to turn that off if you would like. And I would show you the webcam, but since we're using it through StreamYard to send this out, it wouldn't show up for you. So just know that it'll pop up in a square towards the bottom right. You can resize that box and you can also close it at any time. You'll also see a few different options towards the bottom. You can increase how many seconds it counts down before it records. You can show or not show tools, and then you can also use or capture tab audio or not. Tab audio is really important if you're recording a video that's going to have sound that plays from your computer, meaning maybe you're going to play a video in Drive or YouTube or something else, and you want that audio to come through. You have to make sure that tab audio is checked. And I'm going to go ahead and show you the other options here too, just so you can see they really don't change much as you come down through. But next to browser tab is desktop, and that's going to show an entire monitor on your machine. So you'd see the taskbar on the bottom like you do on my screen right now, as well as all of your tabs and things across the top. But you can see the options down below are the exact same for you. And then last but not least is webcam only. And this is the one we use a lot of times if somebody is going to actually hold a physical book, maybe for a read aloud. And there's a lot of other examples as to why you do webcam only. Our teachers use it for morning meetings and things as well. But this will show only your webcam. And then, of course, the only option you have after that is whether or not you want to count down. So I'm going to go ahead and try, and I'm going to cross my fingers that my computer is happy. But I'm going to turn all the options on, and we're just going to try and record a short video here just so you can see what it looks like as it counts down and starts up for you. And look at that, my webcam is going to work in both places, so I was wrong. Always love learning new things though. So you can see my webcam is at the bottom. I can move that webcam around. I could resize it, and you'll notice I have a couple different options here to make it full screen, make it half the screen. I'm going to go ahead and close it to try and keep my computer happier as we go through. And then down here at the bottom left of the screen is where you're going to see your options for your different tools. So I can make it so that it'll highlight my mouse clicks as I would click on the screen. Very handy for when you're in something like a slide deck. You can drag this out of the way so that you would be able to see your tools to advance your slides. You can also use it to focus on a certain part. You can bring up a regular mouse. You can also use a fireworks mouse to, again, highlight where you're clicking as you go through your slides. And you can, of course, minimize this as you go through. And to stop the video, once you're done, you've captured everything you want, you can hit the stop on the toolbar itself, or you can go back to the extension again at the top right-hand side of your screen, and you can hit stop there. Either place you do it will stop the video and then present you with this screen. Something I always point out on this screen for my teachers is this part up here that says click to unmute. The first few times people use it, they hit this screen, they notice it starts to autoplay, and they're like, oh my God, I captured no audio, I gotta redo the whole thing. I have done that myself until I started catching this out of the corner of my eye. So I always tell them, first thing you do, pause the video, always click to unmute. And then you're gonna be able to hear that audio, know if it worked. At the top here, you can go ahead and rename it if you want. It's automatically saving it to your Google Drive in the background. And you'll notice if I come over to my drive, and please don't mind all my bonus folders, but you'll see here about halfway down on your screen right now, there is the Screencastify folder, and all of my different videos will be right inside of that folder. But as I come back to my Screencastify tab here, just to walk you across a few other things, if you needed to delete it, you do have the trash can there. If I click to copy the shareable link, that's going to do the exact same thing as if I went into Drive and did share to anybody with the link can view. All I have to do is click that, copy and paste it, put it in an email, put it in a comment on student work so they have a video of me walking them through my feedback. And I can also click to expand those options and control what access level that link gives. And this is going through a few different slides in the deck, so just know if you're following along there, you can actually advance really as I go through. But we looked at the annotation toolbar there briefly, and now we're on the screen that's going to give you at least the basics of how you would edit a video. And really, the free part of the editor is fairly limited. It does allow you to drag in from the ends using the toolbar itself, or icons at the end that are a pair of scissors. You can trim the ends of the video. One thing you do want to make sure you note is that once it's trimmed, it is trimmed. That is the new version of the video. You can't revert back within this program. In both places. The editor you see here at the top, I'm not going to open right now, simply because Screencastify Editor, the full version of it, is a paid feature. Most of Screencastify is free, but I'll do a slow scroll down this page, and it's screencastify.com/buy. That will give you and show you the three different sides. The main side we're looking at today is the record side. It is free, and that will limit you to 5-minute recordings per recording, but you get really as many of those as you want. And then to get unlimited length, you're going to need to look for that paid version. And it's fairly well priced for an entire school too, but the pricing you see here is essentially an educator price. Then you can see the editor has its own side here. And then of course, down here at the bottom, you also have submit. And you'll notice that there are free parts of edit. You can do a 5-minute limit per export. So you can jump into that editor and it will give you more features. But again, you're locked into 5 minutes or less. And then submit, which we'll talk about a little later briefly, you do have the option to do one active assignment at a time. And to briefly show you the editor, and this is found at learn.screencastify.com. It's really an awesome library full of teaching you all the different things about Screencastify. But as I scroll down, you'll see you can get to it from that video landing page, or you can go straight to edit.screencastify.com. And then as I come down a bit more, you'll see there is actually multiple different other ways to get to it. And I'll go ahead and jump to this next screen just to show you. And again, we won't dive into this, but there's awesome links linked into here where it says use the editor. That will show you how you can do more to actually cut or crop videos. So do even more than trim those ends, but actually chop a video, cut different sections out. You can see on the right-hand side, you can actually add media in. So if you have 2 or 3 or 4 videos you want to splice together, you can do that in the editor. And you can also zoom in and out. And something that I think is probably the newest feature and probably one of the best features that has come into it is the blur feature. We all know that we've tried to make certain videos and then, oh, I shouldn't have shared that one thing. That one little piece shouldn't be there. You can now use the blur to make sure that that doesn't show up in the video other than a blurred out spot that nobody is going to be able to see or figure out what it is. So again, as long as your video stays 5 minutes or less, you can get into the editor and you can use those features. So keep that in mind as you're looking down through what's free and what's paid. But again, without going into the editor, your main option to edit a video is to just use these scissor options from either the left or the right to trim your video. And again, that is a permanent thing. You can see the message comes up and it says it is going to be a permanent change. Are you sure that you want to do it? And we're rolling down through the slides pretty quick, but again, remember, you can pause this, go back anytime. You can reach out to me. You can also reach out to Darcy, and she would be happy to help you with any Screencastify questions you have as well. And one of the last things we're going to hit on is how you would download a video. And that comes in on this right-hand side. You're going to see download at the bottom right. And when I expand that, you're going to see one option is just straight download. That will download a WebM file of the video. You also have the option to export an MP4. MP4 is just a little more widely accepted by video editors, but many of them are also taking that WebM format. You can export audio only, so that's where you come into that side of podcast and different things along those lines. It's also a great way to save bandwidth for students that might have low or poor internet. They can get all the audio, obviously they won't see it, but that audio is going to be a lot less of a drain on their internet connection. And then you also have that option there to export as a GIF. Right above that, you're going to see the share section, which will allow you to publish to YouTube, get embed code, email it. And one of the ones that our teachers use the most is the share to Google Classroom option. So they don't have to leave the screen if they don't want. They can just click that, go straight to Classroom. And then one of the things I really love is this part that says add more share options, where you can actually pop it open and send it to Edpuzzle, Wakelet, or Remind. And as you can see there, app smash a little bit to take it into Edpuzzle and maybe add some formative assessment pieces, maybe put it into a Wakelet collection that you're going to share out. Maybe you're building something like a breakout in Wakelet and you want that video to be in there, or maybe you just want to communicate it out with that Remind app. So a bunch of really good options there on that screen to be able to share it, be able to download it, and make sure that video it gets to who you need and also has all the pieces in it that you want as it goes out. As I mentioned, there is for Submit both a free and a paid side, and you can see those prices here. And as the website says, it really makes it a much more simplified process to assign video projects or assign video work to students, and then really seamlessly collect those submissions back in. And again, back to learn.screencastify.com, you can see that there is a few different ways to get to submit. You can go through the extension at the top, you'll see submit there, and you can also see what it looks like in these GIFs on your screen as it comes down through. The big difference between this and really any other part of Screencastify is that you're actually creating assignments and collecting work. You're not just creating videos, downloading, editing videos. This is really distinctly a tool purpose-built for education to make it, as I said before, as seamless as possible to both assign video work as well as bring it back in. And you can get all the information, much more of the ins and outs on how that works via the links on your slide here. The all about Submit, there's actually a nice course online for how to become a skilled submitter and get that badge. And then you also have the help site, which is that Learn at Screencastify website. And just in case that wasn't enough as we went through, and I'm going to go ahead and close some of these bonus tabs for you to again simplify the amount you're seeing. You'll see Screencastify has an entire website all about classroom resources, how to use it including a beginner's guide, 50 different ways to use it. And if you're a Google school like we are, 25 different ways to really use it really nicely with Google Apps, different help and learning websites, tips and tricks, and then another listing of various links here in the 1 through 6 that'll give you all kinds of different ways to use it and some more ins and outs. And one of them here you see is 7 super screencasting activities for school from somebody in the world of Google that just about everybody knows, and that's Eric Kurtz at Control-Alt-Achieve. And all of these other links you see here are very similar to that to give you lots of different ideas. And to finish my part out here, you also have 3 different certification courses you can do for a teacher. And one that I love is this one at the bottom, Master the Screencast Junior, which teaches students in about 10 minutes or less how they can use it as well. And if you do a district-wide subscription, all of your students can get that. And of course, they could use that free side as well. But I think that's probably enough on my side and probably gave you a ton of goodness about Screencastify and some good tips. I want to kick it over to Darcy so she can take over with her screen share and go ahead and tell us a ton of awesome stuff about WeVideo.
All right, so talking about WeVideo, one of my favorite things to talk about. I'm probably in WeVideo about every other day. So that's just something that I absolutely love to do. Unlike Screencastify, though, unfortunately, the free account is very limited. Most of what you can do within WeVideo, you're going to have a paid subscription for. So I do have links within the slideshow to both the free accounts and what they offer and what the education accounts. And there are several different types of education accounts and subscriptions that you could purchase, from just a singular teacher account to a classroom account where you have students on it, or grade levels or department areas, school or district. But I do want to point out on that free account side, the limited amount of time that you actually have for recording is only 5 minutes per month. So that does kind of make it very difficult in a hybrid situation that most of us are probably in right now. If you're doing a lot of instructional videos, it's not a ton of time. But I do also want to point out this link down here about how to get the most out of WeVideo's free plan. WeVideo did a 30-minute webinar, which is what that's linked to show you how to really get the most out of that account and what you can do with it. As far as the education accounts go, the part to me that is the most beneficial is this royalty-free media library. Working in a previous district somewhere else, we had iMovie, and sometimes it was such a struggle to find things that we could use within iMovie. Their library was a little bit more limited, and oftentimes we had to send students out to a website, try to remind them to use copyright-free images or music, and trying to find video that they had not created was almost impossible at that time. And we're talking the early 2000s. Now it's a little bit easier, but the benefits of being able to use that free media library, there are often times where we have students who create videos just having pulled things out of that library, and they never have to make their own footage, which is also a really nice benefit. And then the green screen accessibility. This is a really great part of this too. All right, so some of the types of projects that you can create within WeVideo, you have just the typical video. This is where you're filming yourself either using your mobile device or a video camera and creating a video that way, which is different from recordings, which is actually being able to record yourself on the web camera or recording your screen. And then you have podcasts where it's audio only. And so a lot of times we may have a student just go in and record their voice for a podcast. But if they've also created a video, which is also, this is a great thing for teachers. If you've created an instructional video, but you know you have a student who may have a hard time seeing the video because of Wi-Fi issues, you can turn that video into a podcast and just download the audio of that podcast and maybe be able to send that to a student. And it might be easier for them to access that rather than the video. And then you also have GIFs. So I call it GIFs, but they have templates already set up for you, and the maximum amount that you can do is 45 seconds. So it's really nice that you're not trying to figure out how much time do I have to put all of these things in. It's already kind of set up for you, and you're just putting in the images or video and pointing out the things that you want in that animated GIF. And then finally, you can do individual or real-time collaborative projects. So what I mean by this is you could create your own video where it's just you singularly editing that video, having that video file, or you could have several people editing a video and being able to do this all at the same time and see it similar to how you would with a Google Doc. Okay, and just like Screencastify, there's a couple of different ways to navigate to WeVideo. The first way, and probably the way that you would use it for most everything that you would do, is to navigate to WeVideo.com. It is a fully cloud-based program, so everything that you do is on the internet. But then they also have a new extension called WeVideo for Schools Quick Recorder. So I have the link in here on the slides, because sometimes if you go in and do a search for it in the Chrome store, if I just do a search for WeVideo, I often have a hard time finding it. So I definitely encourage you to go back to the slides and click on the link to be able to install that Quick Recorder. And before I move on, I do want to show you what that Quick Recorder looks like. So I have it up here in the upper right corner. I'm just going to click on that. And you can see it actually looks very similar to Screencastify. It has that window that's going to be in the upper right corner. And just like in Screencastify, you can dually record your web camera and your screen at the same time, or you could record just your screen, or just use your web camera. And then you have options for if you have an external microphone, you want to default to that or use the microphone that's on your computer. Also, if you have an external web camera, you want to go ahead and change those settings. You can do that there and then click record. So I'm going to do that just to show you what this looks like. And then I always point out to teachers, to hide that little button down at the bottom, that bar, basically just says that you're sharing your screen and recording. To me, I don't like having it down there. It's one more thing on the screen, and I find it to be just kind of a distraction for students. So I hide that, and then it actually opens up kind of a new window in Chrome, and that's how you'll go back to it to stop it. So I'll show you that in just a second. But I do want to point out this bar in the Quick Recorder. You can stop the video, pause the video, show your camera or not show your camera. And then I really like the arrow options that you have. You could just have a regular arrow that as you're pointing on things, it's just the typical arrow. Or you could have the one that as I click on different items, it's going to have a circle around it. So it highlights it a lot more and makes it easier for students to see and focus exactly what you're clicking on. Going back to earlier, we were talking about signaling. That just kind of helps with that focus and highlighting what exactly it is that you're doing so students can also follow through if you're giving directions. And then you have where you can annotate. So I can draw, write. I have that option, and then also an undo option. So if I wanted to get rid of all of that, I could, and then slide the bar out of the way if I don't need to use it. So we're going to go ahead and stop that. And then when it's done, you can download the video And to edit it, you would need to go into WeVideo on the cloud to edit. You can also share to Google Drive or delete as well. So those are just the different options that you have. And I have those on the slides. And this is where I'm going to start to deviate from the slides a bit. Everything that I'm about to show you, we're going to go into WeVideo itself. And I have slides with all of the directions and explanations for everything that I'm about to do. So this is WeVideo. And I want to go back to the dashboard area. So once you are logged into WeVideo, this is where you land. You can see that recent videos, anything that you have recently been editing or working on, would be down at the bottom. You do have some template options at the top, and this is really great to give students to help them get started maybe with an idea or lesson title. We actually have had many of our teachers, when we first started making instructional videos during the pandemic, used this template. And I'll just pull that up real quick so that we can see that. We're going to go ahead and start editing. So you can see that it has some different titles in here already, some videos, just to kind of show you what the options are that you can put in this video and help you as you're maybe organizing your thoughts. So this has a lesson title, so you could go in and edit this, learning objectives, what today's objectives are, and then section headers as you're kind of chunking out the portions of the video. So you have all of those options. And then I figured the best way to show you how to create an instructional video in WeVideo is to actually make one. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to click on Create New, and then you can see all of the different options that you have to choose from, which projects you want to do. And also, if you note, video recording and GIFs have another additional drop-down area. So you can actually make horizontal or vertical videos. Vertical would be great for Instagram. So I am also our school's social media manager. So oftentimes I'm creating announcements or different things that we're posting out on our school Instagram account, and being able to set it up vertically is very, very nice to have. The default is horizontal though. So if you're just making a regular video, don't worry about that. You could just click on video itself and it's going to default to that horizontal size. All right, so now I can also set up projects, which are kind of like folders within WeVideo. And right now I'm in my demo folder. So I'm just gonna go ahead and keep editing from there. And now we're gonna start to create our instructional video. So I thought we would talk a little bit about South America. That would be a great topic if you're doing geography. Our ninth graders oftentimes are in geography class, or if you're maybe a Spanish teacher or foreign language, we'll just talk about that, and I can show you some of the different things that you can do if you're talking about cultures or maps or different things. So the first thing that I want to point out is that media library that I talked about earlier. So if you click on stock media from the toolbar at the top, you can see I have a search bar. So I'm just going to type in South America, and it will give me lots of different search results. So it will include everything that you see in this dropdown. I can filter, so I can say right now, I am selecting everything that is possible under this topic of South America is going to come up in my search results. Or I could narrow it and focus it to just videos or images or audio. So let's say I just wanted audio, and then I can further refine my search to say, I just want sound effects. I don't actually want to get music to put into my video. Maybe I just want those sound effects. So you can do that as well. You also have your favorites. So as I'm looking through my options and what my results are, maybe I want to pick this one. So this one I have already favorited. So by clicking on that heart, it puts it in my favorites list. And then when I click on favorites, I can see everything that I have favorited. So instead of trying to go back and search for it, it's right there in that list, and I can drop it down to my tracks, which is actually the next thing that we're going to do. So I want to find a video. And the way that I know something is a video is because it has a timestamp in the upper corner of that particular video. So I can see that this one is 10 seconds. This one is 30 seconds. And then if I go through some of my other results, you'll notice that timestamp disappears. So these are static images and something that's not going to move like the videos are. So then I'm going to go ahead and grab this map, and I'm going to drop it down to one of the 2 tracks that I have. And what's really special about these tracks is that I can layer things. So if I'm putting this map on the bottom track, it's going to be in the background. And then let's say I want this aerial view to be on the top. It's now going to layer on top of the map that I just had. There we go. So now it kind of covers it. Anything that I do within WeVideo, whether it's text, videos, images, if I want to edit that, I can double click on it and I will get several other options to choose from. So we were talking about the layering. So I'm just going to scale this down and move this around so that when I have the 2 videos, now you can see what I'm talking about as far as the layering goes. So I'm able to do all of that. Let's say I want to add some text to my video now. I can either add another track so that it could go on top of the videos that I have, again, layering. And you saw it right here. I can click on the plus sign to add those additional tracks, whether they're a video or an audio track. Or I could push the title to in front and say insert and push the rest of the video back so it pushes and adds that title in or that text in. And again, if I double click, I can change the sizing. So I could make this bigger. And then on the additional tab here where it says properties, this is where I could change my text. And then my media, this is where I would be able to add media that I have created on my own. So it might be video footage that I have filmed myself doing using the video camera or my mobile device, or it could be additional pictures that I've wanted to add in. So if I go to import, I can import from my computer, or I can import from other different sites such as Google Drive. I can also record right from here. So this is where I can add in my web camera, my screen, and have those options. Transitions. So let's just do that real quick. So let me add in a couple of other items to the tracks so that you can see what I'm talking about. So let's find, I want to find an image. Okay, so here's an image. Here's another image. So if I go back to transitions, I can pull that in between the video and the image. And when I go back to preview it, now I can see that really nice transition that makes it really smooth and very professional looking. If I didn't have that, here's kind of, it's just a really quick transition. So that's where I want to add in some of these other transitions that are going on. You also have backgrounds, which are really good to be placed behind text. So if I just had nothing underneath this text box right here, I could add in and trim that background so that now as it plays, I can see the background that's behind my text. All right, and then when I am finished putting my video together, I'm going to click the Finish button in the upper right corner. I will want to name my video, so we're just going to put South America for the moment. And then this is where I can decide, do I want this to be a video? Do I want it to be audio only and use that podcast feature? Do I want it to be a GIF? It also lets me choose the resolution SD is going to be lower quality. So again, for your students who might be in an area where they don't have great Wi-Fi, the lower the resolution, the easier it's going to be processed and let students watch that. Higher resolutions, while it is better quality, it does kind of process at a different speed. And then I can also choose the destinations. Students in my district only see WeVideo and Google Drive. Teachers have the rest of these options available. So students could leave the video and let it process and finish within WeVideo, and then I'll show you in a second where you can go and find those. They could also export it to Google Drive, where it will create a folder labeled WeVideo, and all of the videos will be exported there. Or I could automatically send it to YouTube. When I create my own training videos for my Tech Tuesday series or for teachers in my building, I will oftentimes just let it go straight to YouTube. And then when I go into YouTube Studio and go to content, that's where I can find it and make any additional changes to it, find the link for it, add items into the description area and explanation. And then when I click export, it's going to both process in WeVideo, and then it would send it to YouTube or Google Drive or one of the other options that I've clicked on. So if I have chosen to just keep it within WeVideo, I haven't sent it to another area, back on the dashboard, if I go to exports, I can see all of my exports. And again, as a WeVideo administrator, I'm able to see all of the exports within our district. But if you're on the teacher side or the student side, you're just going to see your exports, and you can download, rename, add to a gallery, or delete from that area. So going back to our slideshow here, just like Patrick had for Screencastify, for WeVideo within the slideshow, I do have lots of different resources and other things that you can get to learn more about WeVideo and how you can do this. WeVideo does have an academy on their site and also through YouTube, showing you many tips and different things that you can do with WeVideo in creating WeVideos. And then I've added some other options here, and then also my own tutorial playlist that I've created for our school, and different things that you can do with WeVideo. So you can find that on YouTube as well. And then where you can find on-demand webinars that they have for even further training. And then the WeVideo creator community has lots of great things. It has trainings in there where you can also get rewards. And this is also where you can become certified, a certified educator with WeVideo. And then I also want to mention their Creator Academy that's going to be this summer. It's a 3-day live event. So definitely check that out if you want to learn more about WeVideo. Before I toss it back over to Patrick to close us out, I do also want to mention that if this is something that you're interested in and your school does not have a subscription to WeVideo just yet, I would recommend trying out that free version. Give it a chance, see what you can do with it. Maybe get some other teachers on it as well and pilot it out at your school and see if it's something that your school would be willing to do or your district would be willing to get a further subscription on it. But that pilot or that free account would be a good way to try it out and pilot it.
Awesome. Thank you, Darcy, for all the great information. I know I do know a lot about WeVideo, but I also picked up a few things as you went through that I didn't know. So I always love presenting with others so that I pick up a few things, and without fail, I always pick up something here or there that I love to take back to our teachers and file away for me as well. But we first wanted to thank you guys. We know your time is valuable, so we really appreciate it if you're watching this live now or you're watching it after the fact, and we hope that some of those tips in the beginning help you with instructional videos you're beginning to create or are planning to create in the future, and hopefully learning more about Screencastify and WeVideo also helped out. And maybe if you have time, we really hope you'll check out UnisonEDU and see what we have to offer there, and maybe even consider joining our team and being part of this movement to really help close some of those professional learning equity gaps. And along those lines, even if maybe you can't be part of the team, we would really love it if you could possibly donate and help us pay it forward to, again, close those professional learning equity gaps. And all of those funds really go towards obviously helping UnisonEDU operate, but really the vast majority goes towards helping schools that don't have the funds to bring people in for PD or don't have what they need personnel-wise. We can help fund it to get our people there or help our people facilitate it virtually, and all that money directly pays it forward to help those learning opportunities with those schools. Darcy, did you have anything that you wanted to add in before we wrap up?
No, just thanks everybody for watching. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to either Patrick or myself. Again, we're both experts on Screencastify and WeVideo.
Perfect. Again, thank you all for joining, and we hope to catch you not only through UnisonEDU things, but maybe at some conferences and things coming up. Both of our Twitter handles are in the slide deck, so by all means, feel free to connect. We'd love to learn with you, from you, and collaborate.